Hi, have a good day to all of us. I am Catherine Borado Tampos, BS Ed 3 English, and this activity is respectfully submitted to Miss Azucena C. Haya, and this is under the subject of English and American Literature. So, my assigned story is all about The Last of Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. So, this is The Last of the Mohicans. So, there are differentiated questions that we need to answer. So, first is, what makes the literary piece significant contribution to the world? So, The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper is an important novel in the development of American literature. Cooper's The Last of Mohicans is the most popular in the Leather Stocking Tales series of novels with the character Hawkeye. While the book was published in 1826, it is set in 1757 during the French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, making it an early example of historic fiction. This alone made The Last of Mohicans American first bestseller in a time when most American stories were set in the Europe. Cooper was the first author to find success at writing American characters in an American setting. He also generated a true interest among the Europeans in the culture of the Native Americans. So, The Last of the Mohicans, the significant contribution to the world is it is considered the important novel in the development of the American literature. So, second question is, give your 10 sentences summary of your understanding of the literary piece. So, my understanding about this literary piece is The Last of Mohicans is set in 1757 in what is now upstate New York near Saratoga Springs during the French and Indian War. At its start, a young English major named Duncan Hayward is to assess Cora and Alice Munro, daughters to Colonel Munro, as they travel from the Fort Edward, commanded by General Webb, to Fort William Henry, commanded by Cole Munro. His band has for its guide a former Mingo or Iroquois, now allied with the Delaware natives and the English name Magua. The band sets off for Fort William Henry, meets up with a Christian singer of psalms named David along the path, and get lost. And then, Hayward spotting a scout named Hawkeye, also known as Nati Dompo, and who describes himself as a man without a crust, and two Mohicans native Iliad with the English and related to the Deliverers, named Oncast and Chinganggok, asked them for advice in getting the fort. Hawkeye says it is suspicious that Mangua, a native runner, would get lost in the woods, and in confronting Mangua, Hawkeye causes him to run away, deserting the band. Hawkeye, Oncast, and Chinganggok agree to escort the band the rest of the way and attempt to protect them from Mingo or Huron attacks. And then, but after the band hides in a cave and ran out of gunpowder, Hawkeye, Oncast, and Chinganggok retreat to send word to General Webb, and Mangua and a group of Hurons captures Hayward, Alice, Cora, and David. Mangua demands that Cora marry him, and Cora refuses. Mangua then attempts to kill the remainder of the band, only to have his Huron allies killed by Hawkeye, Oncast, and Chinganggok, who have returned from their statistic retreat. The lives of all the members of the band are spared, and all the Hurons except Mangua are killed. Mangua escaped northward near Lake George, and the band makes its way to Fort William Henry, where they are welcomed by Monroe. So that's all. That's the summary about my understanding of the Last of the Mohicans. So next. So number 3 questions is, if it is a story, then give at least 3 important characters with descriptions, setting with descriptions, theme with description, and plot. So the Last of Mohicans is a story. So I will give 3 important characters. So first is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is the novel's frontier hero. He is a woodsman, hunter, and scout. Hawkeye is the hero's adopted name. His real name is Nati Bampu. A famous marksman, Hawkeye carries a rifle named Kildare and has earned the frontier nickname Lalog, carabine, or a long rifle. Hawkeye moves more comfortable in the forest than in civilization. His closest bonds are with Indians, particularly Jigangok and Onkas, but he frequently asserts that he has no Indian blood. So second is Mangwa. The novel's villain, he is a cunning horror nicknamed Leonard Subtail, or a Subtly Fox. Once a chief among his people, Mangwa was driven from his tribe for drunkenness because the English colonial Monroe enforced his humiliating punishment. Mangwa possesses a burning desire for retaliation against him. Third is Major Duncan Hayward. So, Major Duncan Hayward, a young American colonist from the South who has risen to the rank of major in an English army, courageous, well-meaning, and noble, Hayward often finds himself out of place in the forest. Thwarted by his lack of knowledge about the frontier and Indian relations, Hayward's unfamiliarity with the land sometimes creates problems for Hawkeye, the dexterous woodsman and leader. So, the next question and the last but not the least questions is number 4. What are your comments to the assigned literary piece? So, my comments are these. Cooper's techniques is the use of repetitions, oppositions, and contrast, the elements of which being quite clear and indefeasible. Repetitions is seen most obviously in the plot, device of the trap, and escape of the sympathetic party of the characters. But it is also used effectively to drive home the plight of the Indians and the historical events that have brought them to their present conditions. Some repetitions is incremental, that is, it restates but with a difference with something new added. This is true of Indian and rivalry, of the miscegenation theme, of motifs like father-child, one, and that of disgust, and it is best the redundancy furnishes emphasis to something that Cooper feels is important, and it is the weakest of amplified materials. Folklore, for instance, in which Cooper is interested or feels that his reader will be interested. So, that's all of my part about the Last of Mohicans by James Cooper. Thank you and God bless.